Did you have a pretty good feeling after beating Oklahoma State last week, or were you still kind of on the edge of your seat watching the show today?
Yeah, it's a little bit on edge, just because you never know. When they go in that room, I've been through this enough, you never know what's coming out of that room. But I thought our resume, non-conference, conference tournament, was that of a worthy NCAA tournament team. So I was hoping they would look at that, and we're just glad to be still playing. I'm glad we have practice this afternoon.
Rich, when you came here, months ago and took the job, I mean, what does this moment mean to you after all that? I mean, come back to UCF and being back in Orlando to get this program where you wanted to be.
Yeah, and I think all the things that came along with that, right? Like trying to put together the remainder of a roster in a matter of weeks through the transfer portal, and holding on to the freshmen that we did have, the guys who were in-house, those guys, deciding to stay, because none of these guys had to come here, none of them had to stay, and they all believed in what we were trying to do here. And then to put together a staff kind of on the run, guys that really never had worked together outside of Morgan, the PR ops guy. No, I've never worked with any of those guys. So to get all that with the 26 new players and 5 new coaches, and to get them all going in the same direction, and to watch that kind of evolve over the year and see them win the games on the stage that they had to win them, and the way they went about it and represented our program and our school and our city the way they did, and for them to get a chance to keep playing has been unbelievable.
You talked about having a resume. Did it surprise you then to see last 4 in, considering that resume?
A little bit, yeah. I think who we had to play, where we had to play them, the way the schedule was built with, the non-conference weekends that we had, and we won 6 out of 10 Big 12 series, 16 Big 12 games, get to the semifinal of the Big 12 tournament. I don't know exactly how many non-conference games we won, but we only lost 3. So that, to me, felt like it, but you never know. I've been on both sides of this thing, and we've won the ACC tournament when I was or ACC championship by 5.5 games in 22 at Notre Dame, and you think you're going to be a national seed, and you don't. Like, it's just, you try to do all you can, and you just hope the committee gives you a shot.
UCF was not only the last 4 in, but Cincinnati ended up being one of the last 4 out. How do you now contextualize the drama that unfolded in Arlington, beating Cincy in extra, beating Oklahoma State in that extra inning game a couple of days later, and it ended up being that close coming to the end? What does that kind of mean, and how does that contextualize Arlington?
Well, I think we knew that going in. I think we knew that. I think Cincinnati knew that. Maybe the people on the outside didn't understand that, but I think we kind of understood what that game meant. Not only a chance to advance to the Big 12 tournament, what it meant overall, and what you're going to be up against at the end of the year when they're making decisions on who gets to keep playing and who doesn't. And those 2 games set up nice for us, and we thought we had to win at least 2 to have a chance at doing this thing, and the kids did it.
Coach, what does it mean? I know you're happy, obviously, for all of your players that are making a regional, but there's a lot of guys who are playing their final year of college baseball. They've never made a regional. Guys like Andrew Gray has made theirs in 2020. Guys like Ben Vespi, Kyle Kramer. I mean, how happy are you, especially for guys like that, knowing that they'll end their career going to the season?
100%. And we talked about that as a group, and we laid it out there. Like Kramer, Brait, Vespi, there's some other guys in that room that have given everything they could to this program for so long. And I just wanted, and our team wanted, them to have the opportunity to experience not only postseason baseball, but NCAA tournament baseball at the highest level. And it means a lot to me and the program that they don't leave this place without playing in the NCAA tournament.
You see the bracket announced, you see obviously the link. It was an opportunity you might have facing. What goes through your mind, and have you got a chance to text them?
I've talked to a couple of the assistant coaches. He's probably doing media. We haven't talked yet, but I had a feeling when we were in, that's where we were going. And if you would ask me in February, if you guys get in, where you think you're going, I probably would have said Tallahassee, just with what's always happened here. But it's going to be, you got Florida State, Alabama, and Stetson, and us all in the same regional. That's, an unbelievably deep regional that's got championship teams all around in it, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Does it mean a lot? Does it mean a lot for you to have, speaking of going to Tallahassee, to be able to have fans from Orlando make the drive up rather than going somewhere else where maybe they could be with the fan base?
Yeah, I think that helps, right? Like our people can get up here and drive up 75, hang left on I-10, and come watch the Knights play and hopefully cheer us on to victory.
How does this ballpark play?
Depends. Obviously it always plays short to right because it's short to right. The surface is great. It plays really deep to left. If the wind's not cooperative, it's going to be hard to get a ball out to left. When the wind's blowing out, it's very offensive. There's different things you got to deal with. Obviously, the wall's different. It's got a turf home plate. There's some shadows that come in with the big grandstand, the stuff that we'll talk about. Some of our guys have already played in that environment and in that stadium before. The guys from Notre Dame, some of the guys that are older on our team have been up there before. And we're going to play the night game on Friday, so dealing with the light situation, there's a little different than most.
Coach, I know when you got here, you was obviously hire a staff, recruit, retain, transfer portal, all that stuff. I don't know at what point you thought in your mind, what's your realistic expectation for this team, but what were your expectations, and or maybe when did you realize that this team had what it takes possibly to reach the top?
I think as the fall started to roll around a little bit and we started to see some pieces fall together, and then knowing when Jack Ziska showed up, obviously solidified some pieces in our offense. And you just started to see the team kind of gel and the pieces defensively start to work out from the guys we brought in, the guys returning. And then I would say near the end of the fall and early spring when you started to see some of those arms that to this point in their career had not had great careers start to look like they were really developing into the guys that we all thought they would be from the beginning, like Dom Castellano, Dom Stagliano, Vespi, Chase Sintala. I mean, Kramer's always been Kramer, but those guys really started to emerge, and you start to see that. And we talked in our first meeting. I know a lot of people outside the building didn't think it, but the standard of UCF baseball is to play in June. So if you're going to stand up for this program, you're going to do everything right on and off the field, and your goal and the expectation is that you're going to play in June. And we're not going to throw a massive party when we get in June, but that's the expectation. That's what you deserve. Put in the work. That's where we'll be, and it's nice to see them get rewarded for that.
As your coach, what have you seen about this team's ability to respond that makes them so special throughout multiple times in the regular season, the magnitude of the Big 12 tournament? What do you see from them that just says comeback?
Yeah, they're battle tested, right? Like they've dealt with some adversity. We were dead before the season started if you listen to everybody else, and then we were dead when we left Oklahoma, and even more dead when we left West Virginia, and they just continue to play, continue to figure it out. We talked about it all the time, but nobody cares. It doesn't matter. Get better. And I think they've gotten better, and they've dealt with adversity, and that's what an NCAA tournament is going to give you. Like, you're going to have to deal with that inside the game, just like the Big 12 tournament. Like some of those guys that haven't experienced NCAA baseball, they did in those first two games in Arlington. They just didn't know what it was at that moment. That's exactly what they feel like pitch to pitch. You're hanging on every pitch and the decisions you make and how you play. And when you think you got a game wrapped up and you don't, and you're just going to have to deal with it and keep playing. And I think we're ready for it.
Coach, it's hard to teach kids like this program here, the guys that you have. You didn't have to teach them adversity to be mental tough, to be strength, and to move forward. Did it just happen naturally?
I think we talk about it a lot in our meetings. We try to practice in a way that we challenge them in practice and talk about the things that come up in practice. Now, is practice ever the same as a game? Absolutely not, but I think they were ready for that part as well as you could be, and then they got it during the season. And they had a couple moments during the season where you have to pick, either you're going to find a way to get better and continue to move on, or you're going to sit there and die, and they chose the other.
Coach, you had to play one of those sweltering hot doubleheaders in Baylor. I know this past weekend.
Hottest doubleheader I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, so I don't know who makes the decision on game times. I don't know if it's Florida State's choice to play at noon or not. If you guys play the night game on Friday,
Yes.
Is that a welcome news to you, or how do you feel about that?
If everything goes as planned and there's no weather issues and all that stuff, it's great. If there's weather issues, it's probably less than ideal. That's kind of, I would assume, why they're playing at noon.
What did you have to do to build chemistry? Each of the players talked about the way this team has come together. What did you have to do as a coaching staff, as a head coach?
Well, I think
Create that environment.
you gotta get to know the guys, right? And they have to feel like you actually care about them. So we're just creating relationship with some of the guys that we've never coached or been around or even recruited, getting to know them on a personal level, and then being involved in every day that they're here. Like, we're around a lot, and we meet regularly, and at practice we're involved in it, and we're kind of in the trenches with them, and I think that kind of helps them get to know us. And honestly, like, when you bring in that many new players, the Brates, the Kramers, the guys that have been around here for so long, to just welcome those guys right away and to create that, I give them a lot of credit for doing that in the clubhouse, because sometimes that doesn't happen. But those guys welcome those guys. Other guys would welcome. They were welcome arms, and they just wanted to win. And they brought those guys in, and I think that's probably the biggest factor in it all.
Coach, you haven't had a chance to talk to you since those Oklahoma State games. What did you see from the team during both of those games that you want to either take with them or improve on as you go into this regional where the stakes are that much higher?
Well, the Oklahoma State game, obviously you're down 4-0, right? So you have to respond right away. And then that thing basically is a one-run game to the very end. and you got to execute at a high level with everything on the line, and they've proven they can do that. And the other game, like, that's baseball. Those guys are red hot. You saw it in the next game. Oklahoma couldn't stop them, and sometimes that happens in our game.
Rich, when you brought guys like Danny and Jack here, was your intent initially the anticipation that you might get to a regional, you wanted to bring some guys who had some of that experience with them, maybe, and how can you utilize that experience?
Yeah, I think you bring those guys in because I knew what type of kids they were. They were the type of guys you want in any type of locker room that you're trying to run. I think they could help us get to the NCAA tournament because they had played in a Power 5 league and been through the struggles of that, of what it feels like, and could they help us when I knew at some point, we talked about it earlier, like at some point it wasn't going to be pretty, and it isn't in these leagues, and you got to recover and respond and get to the next weekend, and those guys have been through it. Their 22 team that they played on got swept twice on the road during the regular season, and they responded, and they've been through that, and they know that you can just kind of play through that in our leagues, and they helped our other guys that haven't been through that before. So I think that part, and they're both really good players, so it helps us. They're talented, they're the right type of people. They helped us immensely.
You look at it staggered down for us.
That's probably where we're going, just with the way it sets up and kind of the matchup, and he's got the most rest. That's probably where we're going. We haven't decided yet. We'll sit down and look at it a little more closely with Alabama, but that's probably where we'll go.
Do you like what you have in terms of that you did this week?
I do. If we can, obviously it helps if you stay in the winner's bracket, but everybody's got pitching issues as far as depth and lining it up. And what our guys had to do in the Big 12 tournament with the Friday doubleheader, the Saturday game where we had to use guys back-to-back, and then go Tuesday and do the stuff that we did, where we really didn't throw anybody on full rest. And Ben was the closest guy we had on full rest. And to have everybody on full rest, a bullpen with 5 days off, which they haven't had since probably January, I like where we're at.
There was some talk a little earlier on about your brand of baseball traveling well. Do you agree with that?
I think when you pitch and you play defense and you execute on offense, it doesn't matter where you're playing, when you're playing, who you're playing. That's the recipe for success in any baseball game, let alone in the postseason. So when you defend and you're hard to score on, 100%.
Which there was a heck of a ricochet between two black guys. How are you feeling about a week later?
I still got to get my nose looked at. I think something's probably wrong there, but feel way better than I did Wednesday morning when I woke up and my wife looked at me and my kids ran away from me. So way better. Appreciate it.
Coach, you began your coaching career here under Jay Berman. You've been an assistant coach for many of these years, and now in your first season as head coach, coming back to UCF, you end up getting to the postseason immediately, ending a drought since 2017. What does that mean to you to see this kind of success this quickly?
Well, I mean, I think I came back here because I love the program so much, and I was just grateful for the opportunity. And I know what it's like to play in these tournaments, these postseason tournaments with that UCF on their chest. And I'm just happy that group of guys get a chance to go do that and represent our school and on the highest stage.
That's good.